Let's move over here to another name I'm pretty excited to talk about because he's such a polarizing player. Laviska Shenault out of Colorado, taking at the 42nd overall pick in the second round to Jacksonville. And yeah, I love the pick for Jacksonville personally. I'm not sure on the fantasy value. Where do you guys see him on the depth chart? Alex, I'll have you go first here. You know, we see Chark as the one, then it's Dede Westbrook, and then is it between Chris Conley and Shenault as the wide receiver 3?
That's exactly what I was thinking. A lot of people heading into this draft had receiver as a need for Jacksonville. I wasn't quite seeing it just because we saw the Chark breakout last season. Dede Westbrook, to me, is the clear slot receiver. Chris Conley has had a lot of ups and downs. They definitely could upgrade the other side of the ball, but they also are bringing back Keelan Cole. They brought in Chris Thompson. They brought in Tyler Eifert. They're definitely loading up Gardner Minshew with all sorts of weapons. I mean, fear the stash next year. But I really think they're going to use Shenault opposite of DJ Chark. I think he will compete with Conley for snaps and for targets, but you know, it's tough for me to reach Shenault. I think they're really going to use him as more of a gadget player. He can kind of do it all. I think he's going to make his fair share of big plays this season. I just don't know how consistently those plays are going to come. I think in the long term, he has a lot of value. I think of him almost as a Cordarrelle Patterson type guy. You know, we'll see him make some special teams plays. He'll do it on the ground. He'll do it through the air. But I think it's a good pickup for Jacksonville. I definitely think it gives Minshew a bit of a bump. But for fantasy value, I'm probably staying away. What do you think, Mike?
So this is one of the guys I love. I mean, I think going into the draft, I'm not touching Laviska Shenault because he's got injuries, he's got all this stuff. And then after he landed in Jacksonville, I did like a full 180, and he's probably one of my highest owned rookie wide receivers from a dynasty perspective.
Love the landing spot.
Yeah, I actually really love the landing spot because, I mean, I think Jacksonville's made it pretty obvious. They don't intend to compete this year. They sold out their defense like hotcakes. And I think they did need a weapon here, right? You have DJ Chark, and they kind of go together so well. Chark and Conley are both more deep threats, so they're going to occupy that portion of the field, whereas Laviska, you're going to have him operating behind the line of scrimmage. He's probably going to take some snaps out of the backfield. Very similar to like what Deebo Samuel did for the San Francisco 49ers last year. So I think he's got that, like, you know, carry upside. And from a talent perspective, this is one of the most talented wide receivers in the class. If he didn't have all these like injury-ridden things, like he would have been going in the first round. I think, you know, he ran the 40 hurt in the combine and basically had a parachute off his back, so that definitely didn't help him in terms of his speed. But if you watch the tape, and you know, my co-host Noah absolutely loves him as well, and I think he just complements that offense so well, right? Because you have someone like Leonard Fournette who just doesn't have the juice anymore, like he's not taking it to the house. But if you line up Laviska in the backfield in the slot, it's gonna result in some explosive plays, I think. So that's the one rookie wide receiver where I might actually have some interest in for redraft, and I'm really in on him for dynasty.
Do you think Shenault in his rookie season is going to get the number of touches that it's going to require to be fantasy relevant? I know last year we did see A.J. Brown come on at the end, but he was doing incredible things with 5 or 6 touches a game. We saw the same thing out of Deebo Samuel. You have to worry about the consistency with players like that. You know, you don't want them to end up being boom or bust. So do you think Shenault is going to be locked in as a piece of this offense in his rookie year all season long to be consistent enough in fantasy?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think all these wide receivers, I don't think any of them are going to be consistent. But what I will say is if you look for the prototype of guys that did produce last year, you mentioned a couple of them, A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel, like what do they have in common? They're great with the ball in their hands, right? And that's exactly what Shenault is. So if the fact that they drafted him kind of tells me, you know, they should know how to use him. And if you watch his college tape, it was all about getting the ball in this guy's hands. Like there's like literally plays where if you pause and freeze frame, it should look like, and you told me to guess how many yards he would get, I would be like 2 yards, and he would take it like 30 because he's just really good at making guys miss and also breaking tackles. And I think that's like the path to rookie wide receiver production, is where you have an offense that manufactures touches for you out of the backfield, and you have the playmaking ability to get the yards after the catch. Because like your traditional like wide receivers, like it's going to be very hard to get any sort of like, you know, stable production. So in terms of what I target, that's like the type of profile that I target, where I think they can get on the field in many different ways and beat the defense in many different ways.
Yeah, it took a lot of interesting snaps. You know, to your point, like his build is pretty unique to me. He's 6'1", 230 with like wide receiver speed. So I think just on the measurables and his physical ability, his talent alone, I think that could lead into some playing time for him. For me, I've been staying away from him in Dynasty just because you note that he's coming off core muscle surgery, so may not get that many snaps early on. That's another thing that's keeping me away from it in redraft completely. But he also never finished a season in college, and that to me was a big exclamation point to say, is this a guy I want to invest in, hold on to if he doesn't produce, first year or two. Mike, am I on the right path here? Or are you just so high in everything else that it kind of mutes that point?
It's kind of all about opportunity cost, right? Like, let's say Laviska Shenault did not have any health or injury concerns. You would not be getting him anywhere in the second round. He'd be going as a first-round wide receiver, and he probably would have been like the first or second, or at least in that first group of wide receivers off the board, because the talent is pretty incredible. And I think you're kind of getting that injury discount. I mean, I've been landing him in the late second round of Superflex drafts, and I think at that point it's like, look, everybody has question marks. I'm just trying to shoot for the guy with the highest upside, and on the chance that he does actually perform. And I've seen some of the injury doctors on Twitter do the analysis, and the core muscle injury sucks, but everyone seems to think that he should be good to go by the beginning of the season. So I'm just kind of going off that for now.
We hope that he becomes the Jags wide receiver 2 next year, and even beyond that as a key part of this offense. I just don't know how much there's going to be in Jacksonville to go around and how much of it is going to be productive. But getting those wildcat formation snaps, I think he will be taking some snaps at the running back position too. So he'll find some snaps here hopefully, and hopefully he can do enough with it. Earn that yards after catch to really make him extra valuable.